Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris and Chumps. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. All you need for everything Leicester City FC. It's Leicester Till I Die TV.
Strap yourself in, because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Good evening, fellow Fox fans. How are we? Well, if ever there was a game that sums up the result is more important than the performance, that was tonight. Try not to fall asleep. I nearly was. Go get your cocoa and we're going to have a chat about the match. We did win. I mean, talk about taking it down to the wire, but we won. King Kelechi in the 93rd, 94th minute is on a richer vein of form than Jamie Vardy is. Well, literally, when you think about it, all hail King Kelechi. And we scored from a corner. Just pinch me, because I was falling asleep then. We have no Julian tonight, I'm afraid. I think he probably has fallen asleep during that. He's got work. He went off to bed. If you're watching us, by the way, you're watching us on YouTube at Leicester Till I Die TV, on Facebook, Leicester Till I Die, the group. Remember to sign in there on the StreamYard link, and on Twitter, Periscope at Leicester TID. Let us know your thoughts. We want to know your thoughts. And yeah, we got away with it, didn't we? We got out of jail there with that. Now, normally Brad spends his evenings, and these are his words, not mine. He normally spends his evening battering his cod. Now, that may well be a euphemism for something. I know not. But thankfully, his cod is not getting battered at the moment. He's put it down. He's with us here this evening. Good evening, Brad.
Evening, Chris.
How is the cod?
Yeah, Call of Duty is fine, thanks. I'm not falling into that trap of just initiating it again. Yeah, that's fine, mate.
Hey,
it was more interesting. It was more interesting for 88 minutes than the football was for 88 minutes. Let's put it that way.
Wasn't it? I mean, like I said in the start there, I mean, the result does, is obviously means more than the performance, and that sums it up.
Yeah, and I think you could tell by both lineouts really that the game wasn't going to be littered with chances galore, but I did think there'd be more than the 3 chances we created in like the last 3 or 4 minutes. But when a game's played like that, you take it however it comes. And to be fair, in the end, it came by us staying more alert than Brighton until the very end, because they weren't even aware of the corner. we put it in quickly, and the saviour cometh the hour, cometh the man, heads home to get us into the next round. So
like I
you
say,
take it in the end.
I think, yes, that's time for a T-shirt. Was I saw Kelechi Iheanacho score from a Leicester City corner. I mean, the corners weren't any better when Tielemans was taking them, were they, in fairness?
No, not really. I don't get why he was side-footing them in practically. And I think the corner situation's been a common topic all over the place with Leicester fans, not just on here, but in other groups and that. And I just think put your laces through it a bit. At least then if you're getting it into that 6-yard box, we saw a few times. I mean, Dan Burns nearly scored an own goal when it deflected, bounced off his knee. That's when the panic was only really caused for that whole time, when it was in the 6-yard box, believe it or not. And, ironically, we scored from being in the 6-yard box, whipping it in quickly. So why are we wasting our time side-footing it in?
Somebody made the point in Leicester Tillydie group in Facebook earlier, and it is a very good point, that we have got a reputation for being bad at defending corners. Well, if Maddison and Tielemans are putting the corners in training, no wonder we're bad, because the corners coming in are really bad.
Yeah, although as
I mean, that's tongue in cheek, obviously, but
yeah, and admittedly, over the last 7 or 8 games, I actually feel our defending from corners has actually been pretty resolute. I can't. When was the last time we conceded from a direct corner? That's slowly, thankfully, getting edged out of our season. Someone will probably tell me the last time in the comments below, but yeah, I get the point. Is if you're going to put crap balls in, you're never going to do it from the other end. So they haven't had much practice defending them. If that's what's bringing them in on the training ground, I'd hope it's not. I'd hope they're throwing it in. I'd like to think that Rodgers is just throwing it in because it's better options.
Maybe we should stop getting corners, get Fuchs on full time, 90 minutes with the long throws, and just get a throw in from just by the corner flag rather than an actual corner. Let's have a look. I mean, first of all, let's have a look at the starting lineup. We knew there was going to be changes, and I think that is, and I know, other teams have got games at the weekend, and Brighton, they made 7 changes the same as us, but it is a big game for us at the weekend. And I know it, a game is a game, but if we can beat Liverpool, we're 6 points clear of them, and that means they've got to win 2 and we've got to lose 2 to sort of just catch us up. So it is an important game this weekend. I thought Daley Campbell did well for his debut.
Yeah, he was mightily impressive. In fact, we'll come to it in the discussion later on in the show, but I think he had an amazing game. And again, I already stated it. It's testament to our development. And I actually didn't know this, so I'd like to thank the people that put the time and effort into our under-23s, and it came from the source of that originally, and then I heard it on the commentaries I would listen to that said that Brendan actually got him in from Arsenal's youth.
Yeah.
So to know we were able to go out, we don't just spot the high first team talents, we spot the promising youngsters and get them into our academy, and then developing them from there on in. He put in a very assured 90 minutes. There was probably only one slight minute when he looked a bit knackered near the end that nearly cost us. But apart from that, a very good commanding debut. It was nice to see.
I didn't see any of the post-match interviews because obviously I come straight on to do the website and what have you. But somebody said, whether this is true or not, that Iheanacho said he had to score then because it was too cold to carry on playing extra time out there. Brett saying, who do we want in the next round? I mean, I don't know even when the draw is. But
I'd assume Monday night. I believe there's a late one. Is it West Ham Southampton play on the Monday night? It's usually before.
West Ham lost to Man United. Oh, the games, do you mean? Or
I don't know. No, I don't know.
I have no idea. Somebody will come on and tell us when it's on.
Yeah, West Ham are out. Sorry.
I thought this was a little bit. Why did Undershaw? Why he's not being picked at the moment? He had a bad game, but then. I don't think anybody really stood out, and we'll come on to sort of what Alan gave the team and the manager lately. But at the end, but in that first half, we only had 4 touches in Brighton's box.
That's a euphemism in its own terms, right? But again,
he was looking for his cod, apparently.
The problem was, as common as the theme might have looked on it, there was a very common theme that actually ran through the whole entire game. Is even though Brighton may have had more of it in that final third, they didn't do a lot with it either. It was just one of them scrappy. It was one of them scrappy games, and I'd agree that to a point, Under had a poor game. I don't think anybody stood above a 6 for me. Obviously, I know in advance what Alan thought of that, but I wouldn't have put anyone above a 6. But I have to admit, when I saw him on the sidelines and the subs were made and Under was being kept on, and he had a word with him, it's almost like he put him up front. I think he was a bit confused, and Perez at the time, of which one was supposed to be wearing that first half. I don't know. Because once Perez came off, and unfortunately it looks like it's an injury to him, which I don't want, despite the people's opinion might think when we talk about Perez and my opinions on Perez, I don't want to see a player injured. I definitely don't. And hopefully, I've heard that JJ was up and about, walking around, so fingers crossed with his injury than that. But once they changed, we saw a lot more out of Cengiz Under, things that we've noticed as fans that he's capable of doing. He got into the box a bit more, he got a few crosses, and didn't he actually have our first shot on target for the whole game? So he came into it when he found himself playing probably in a more position of strength for him, because he seemed to, in that last 10-15 minutes, step it up a gear. Granted, like a lot of them, it couldn't have got any worse, but you could see, if you know what I mean, you see where I'm coming from. Like later on in the game, he did do something.
Tony says there, Under reminds me of Gray. Well, Gray didn't have a bad start for his German side the other night, did he? He did all right for them.
Which is good to see.
You've just said that. I mean, again, I've not seen the interview, nor did Justin. And good evening to Justin. Good evening to Tony. What did Roger say about Justin injuries? Missed his interview, but you said he was up and about.
Well, I'm only going off certain early reports and people commenting on what was said through the interview itself. And I believe something along the lines of he's able to put weight on it. It's not as bad as first fit. They just wanted to be uber cautious. They didn't want him to try and run it off or get down the tunnel and it go, because he obviously felt bad from it. But I'm guessing there's going to be a period of time that he will unfortunately miss, unless he's managed to cop a fortunate one in the sense that it was just a really, really bad reaction to maybe a really bad strain and maybe like a jeer in his knee, that they just didn't want to risk it. Frozen, fairly cold temperature. I know the groundsmen are fantastic at our ground, but you don't want him walking on that, treading on it if it's close to a big injury. And hopefully better things will come out in the next couple of days.
I mean, if he is, it would be great to see him at playing against Liverpool. I mean, BT commentators were saying that they've never known a season like this, not just for Leicester, but for teams generally, for having so many injuries. I mean, we concentrate on our injuries and how many we had at the start, how many we've got now. Whether it is because there was only a short break between seasons, we are playing more games closer together because we're having to fit everything in. Who knows? But Brookline, good evening, Brookline. Welcome along. Good point here. King K has been so cool on his two-headed goals. He doesn't seem stressed about getting them in. It's nice to see getting heading goals, isn't it, Brad?
Yeah, and I made a little point that I wouldn't say was tongue-in-cheek so much, but I kind of said, I don't want it to be a false dawn, first of all. Let's all just hope that this is finally coming together, because I think over the last couple of appearances, when he's played before, he's hit this, we'll call it a purple patch in form, because when he didn't score, he played well in the game that he didn't score in. And maybe this is the plan B. I mean, I don't want to put the mockers on it. I don't want to jinx it, but it's my job to kind of put my opinion out there and give what I think I saw in his performance. And, before he hit this last 3 games, when he has come on, he's come short. He's held the ball up. He's got on with the movement. He's allowed the more creative players time to catch up with Vardy or hold it up so they can catch up to play, and then they take over and he just hovers around an area. And he kind of reminds me of what Man City had him doing. He was always on the edge of the box, hovering around, laying it off to the better players, if you want to call it that, or, players like Maddison for us. He's doing it now. But he did this at Man City, where he'd lay it off, hover around that annoying area where defenders don't like strikers being, and he'd nick a few goals. And I wonder if Rodgers has now made that change to stop replacing Vardy and start going, right, plan B now. When Nacho comes on, this is what he's going to do. This is how he's going to do it. And if we can get these balls in, two-headed goals, might I add, not just two different styles of goals that we used to, but both without Vardy on the pitch. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I hope I'm not. I hope it's not a false dawn again. But just maybe we're approaching the Nacho situation a bit different to get the best out of him.
We're fans. We look at gold linings and gold eggs in anything that happens.
I know.
Yeah, the draw apparently is tomorrow before Barnsley versus Chelsea. Thank you, Facebook user. Nacho's a new I don't quite know about that, but
I wouldn't go that far. I've not seen him put a free kick into the stands yet. Then again, I've not seen him take a free kick yet. So,
I mean, I've got to be totally honest with you. I had it on. My mind was wandering. I actually ordered 2 birthday cards on funkypigeon.com while the game was going on because I literally was falling asleep. It just wasn't an inspiring game at all. And I knew I had to do these cards, and I thought, well, I might as well do them now. And I was doing the 2 things at the once. You know, I had them both on different. I got 2 laptops. But if we'd lost that going into the Liverpool game, I'd have been like, a little bit like, you know, because it would have been so down. Having won in the way we did, it's like, let's go back to Crystal Palace playoff final. It's one of those moments, isn't it, where forget the previous 93 minutes. We don't remember that. We won in the 94. You're walking off that pitch, head held high and happy, and we can now go into the Liverpool game. I think, you know, again, confident.
Yeah, of course you do. And I, you know, I'd even say for the first time in probably 2-3 seasons, maybe, you actually go into that, you know, as a fan, let alone as a player, because as a player, you always like to think you're going to get a chance to maybe upset the apple cart when it comes to Liverpool.
Yeah.
But this is the first time in, like I say, 2 or 3 seasons, you actually feel like we actually, you know, like it's genuine. It's not the ever optimist that always puts Leicester to win, regardless of whether they're playing Barcelona or Barnet. We're talking a big collective of the fan base now will be not just because of Liverpool's form, but because of what they're seeing on the pitch week in, week out, and they grind a result out when necessary. Today we won ugly, very clichéic. Sometimes, you know, we've struggled to do that when we've dropped points this season. We've shown that sometimes we don't always manage to find that way of winning ugly, and today we did it. If you can do that and keep that going, I don't want to put the mockers on anything. I know the commentators curse and all that. You could throw at me for these, but we haven't had the same thing happen to us yet this season. And I use yet because it's Leicester. We know what we're like. But the same thing has happened to us yet. That happened to us at the back end of last season. We looked at them mentally, physically, well, take the injuries out of it, but most of the squad physically and mentally are prepared for what's ahead. And I think this is the best opportunity for us to feel like we should get something from the game at the weekend.
3 changes in the 61st minute. I was surprised there was none at half time after the performance. Perez with the injury, and I'd like you say, I don't want him hurt, but you know, and I don't wish an injury on anybody, but he was awful again tonight.
He doesn't cover up for that. I'm not going to cover up for that and come out and suddenly sing his praises like he had a good game. He didn't, but I don't want him injured. I certainly don't.
No. Maddison coming on for him, and I think that should have happened, whether it was, like we say, whether it or not. Inacho and Chowdhury coming on for Vardy and Ndidi. I think it was just giving them a rest, wasn't it, really? Because they weren't performing any, you know, it was a bad all-round team performance. And you can't say Vardy was having a bad game worse than anybody else was. So I think those two were with the Liverpool game in mind. And Brookline here says, Hamza taking the starting spot from Ndidi. Haha. Ndidi was terrible, but he was back from injury. Tell me one player that wasn't terrible for 90 minutes. You know?
Well, yeah. But look, it's one of them, and it clearly shows. If you look at that performance, and there was a lot of notable. It was a very notable sluggish performance his entire legs. And you know, when we first saw the starting 11, you know, when the news broke of the 11 team, we was all fairly happy with it. I myself was a bit gutted that Nacho didn't get the start, and probably a few out there were gutted that Hamza didn't get the start. I was one that wanted him to start, but again, it shows testament, and I think Brendan Rodgers deserves a bit of credit for this result, because given the display on the pitch, he played that right. I would have, seeing what I saw and how they were a bit sluggish and a bit off the pace since their return, that's i.e. Vardy and Didi, I would have much rather of them get that out of their system and get that out of the way than them have been on the bench, come on, and still been sluggish, and we not got the result like we did in the end, and then have a dodgy start to Liverpool. If you know what I mean, you know, it kind of worked out in a way that they got the sluggishness out of the way, and they got a bit of minutes under their belt, and we're not wasting 60 minutes or so, or having a sluggish first half against Liverpool. And you know, in the end, it's worked out.
It's not just us. I don't know if you saw the West Ham Man United game last night. I mean, I watched a bit of it, and West Ham were absolutely awful. I don't think they had a shot on target again all game themselves. So it's not just Leicester that this is happening to, but it got a bit exciting around after the changes. We had 2 goals, both of them offside.
Yeah, and rightly so. Leicester's was a bit tight. I did feel a bit sorry for Under, because that was in that patch where Leicester just kicked up again, and it was probably the first time when I think he'd literally just been moved into the position a couple of minutes before that. I think that was, because that was just after the substitutions, and he'd just been moved into that position, and he got that ball down. Burns was lost in space. He didn't have a clue where the ball was, and he finished it well. And I gave a little fist pump, and then Nacho was offside by half a foot, and you're thinking, gutted for him. But yeah, the game had a little bit of flow to it for about 5 minutes or so. It wasn't too much, but it was the only time I really had my phone had my full focus. I'm not going to be honest. And then near the end, which again I think showed the bigger quality between Leicester and a side like Brighton, because our alertness and our endeavour to go on for the 94 minutes, I feel that was the difference. I think in the 4-minute stoppage time, we were still going for it, and because Brighton had settled for extra time in the head, probably a few of them. Not that Potter probably hoped that was how they're going to go. He was obviously hoping they'd keep up their intensity and try and win it themselves, but the players on the pitch showed that they weren't alert, and in the end, it paid dividends to us.
Foxes never quit, as they say.
Yeah.
I think to be honest with you, I think we've been totally watching the wrong game tonight. We should have been tuned into this one. Everton.
I haven't seen the updated score.
I mean, they've had our goals as well, haven't they? Were Everton not 3-1 up at what? I mean, Facebook
they were
3-1 up. Yeah, Spurs are bottling it again. Well, I'm sorry, Spurs were 3-1 down, and to come back to 4-4. I don't think it's bottling. I think that it was a fight.
I think that's a bit cliche, isn't it? Just because it's Spurs, I think.
Yeah.
But again, I tell you what makes me laugh, and and some fans, if they've been, some of our supporters, if they've been on here subscribing and been seeing the comments pop up for certain shows, will know a certain acquaintance of mine is a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
Now I didn't get a chance to screenshot it, but he even came out and said he's seen the light in regards to Perez. And I'd just like to say, for all the times that Spurs fans have been bemoaning park the bus technique, only in true Spurs fashion could they finally play fluid attacking football and now concede 5. So they moan they don't play attacking football, then they are dire at the back. Pardon the pun.
It's almost a bit like it's a bit like the Ardiles years, isn't it? We'll score 5 if you score 4. But unfortunately, it's the other way around. Now, bear with me on this, because I want to make a point with this now, because I know you don't like stats, and if there ever was a game that says how bad stats don't sum everything up, it's today, because however bad the game was, we won. And the only stat that matters is the fact that one ball, one goal, and the ball was in there. And that's the only stat that matters, is the 1-0 result. But for a Premier League side, we had 10 shots. We had 2 on target. Now, is that good enough for a Premier League side? If we're going to be like that against Man City. And yes, we beat Man City 5-2. Of course we did. This is a different Man City now. We're not going to get away with that. Possibly we might get away with it against Liverpool because they're shit at the moment. But you know what I'm saying? That, to me, is not good enough.
It was good enough for the game, and that's what matters. It was good enough for the cup, and that's what matters to me. I get your point, Chris. I do see where you're coming from, but that wasn't a starting Premier League 11, especially not for a side against Liverpool.
But we've seen that quite a few times this season, not just tonight. Not with those sides, but we have seen it quite often where our shooting boots haven't been on.
Yeah, and again, they've been in games where we've needed to rotate, or some injuries, like a combination of both today have done. This has forced us to rotate, and players that haven't been consistent in that 11, that haven't got that much game time, but like I said, are either forced up through several injuries to get in, or they're needed to play because we've got 3 games coming in the space of 7 days. That's when the performances and standards have maybe dropped. When that first starting major 11 is there and Leicester are on the ball, we have 4 or 5 shots on target and 2 or 3 goals. So I'm not really bothered. Is that performance not a Premier League standard? Of course it's not. It wouldn't fare well against most teams in the Premiership. Are them players in a collective bunch going to play week in, week out for Leicester? Not right now, they're not. No. Under certainly hasn't been. Nacho is clear where his role is. The young lad, Fonte, I forgot his name now, Fonte Campbell. I forgot his middle name out of all.
Daly Campbell.
Yeah, Daly Campbell. I completely forgot his middle name then. Well, his barrel name. Yeah, he had a great game. We'll get to him in a minute. But, this wasn't a Premiership 11 quality side out. Of choice, anyway.
I have to be corrected, apparently. We didn't only have 2 shots on target. Apparently, according to Facebook user here, we had 3. Well, that's okay then. We had 3 shots on target out of 10.
Then we dominated it. We dominated the game.
And in fairness, I actually took the figures off the BBC, so I don't know. Maybe they'd updated after I did it straight after the game. But whether it's 2 or whether it's 3 guys, it's still. And I'll put this bluntly: for a Premier League team. And I don't care who, they're all playing for a Premier League team, whether they're starters or not. And we know that it's not just the starters that we're going to need this season. Because if that was the case, we'd have been fucked early on in the season. But those stats, and I know we won it, but I still don't care. Those stats are shit. Had the ref blown his whistle 3 seconds or whatever before we got the corner, we'd have gone into extra time. Or we may have lost it. We didn't. We won it 1-0. That will hide everything. But it's sweeping the thing under the carpet because we're just not good enough in that final third. Whoever we put on, and that's Vardy at the moment. That's Inacho. That's That's Maddison. That's Tielemans. We've got to be getting more shots on target.
But that's just rubbish, though, mate. Because we're not where we are. We're not where we are in the league and where we are in the stages of the cups.
We're where we are in the league, as much as the fact that Liverpool are playing shit at the moment.
All right, no. Don't cop out and say we're where we are just because Liverpool are shit. Because Man City aren't shit. Liverpool aren't. Man City aren't playing shit.
Man City were shit at the start, and when
doesn't matter. They're still top of the league and ahead. Yeah, but
we won the Premier League as much because other teams threw it away as we won it. And yes, you can only play who's out there. But if you're saying to me, Brad, that you're happy that we're only getting 2 or 3 shots on target in a whole 90 minutes game against another Premier League time, then I am very, very surprised.
No, I'm happy with the conversion rate at the moment because you say they're not doing it in the middle. The only part you're writing in there is they're not getting enough shots. I will give you that. Hands down, we do need to get more on target. But again, the conversion rate.
That is the point I am making.
Yeah, not the fact I understand that.
We had
but
10
to say
shots.
They're not doing it up front, regardless of who it is very harsh because they are doing it to a point and enough. Regardless, sod everybody else, whether you think they're on form or not, because we could differ on opinions for that all night, and that's fair dues. We all see things different. But to say they're not getting the right results and doing it up front is a bit harsh because, yes, they're only having 3 or 4 or 5 shots on target, and that's even in Premier League games. But how many times have we brought this up, and I've backed it, you know, when we've not had more shots or we've only had 4 or 5 shots. Tonight, let's just say it was 2 on target, 1 in the net. You know, that's a 50% conversion rate. If we're having 5 shots and we go and beat us at a time as a side 3, if we have 5 shots on target in the game, but put 3 in the net, that's a 75% conversion rate. Doing it right, they're just not doing it enough.
It was actually a header. It was actually a header, not a shot. But no,
yeah, but still, but the chances on target, you pedantic little arse. You had to, didn't you?
I'm being very pedantic there. I am sorry. Yes, I agree, and you know, it's all about opinions, and I'm kind of obviously taking the role on here of stirring the shit to get comments, etc. Exactly. For me, though, I must admit, 1-0. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Yeah. It was a shit game. So what? Yeah. You know, Man United, West Ham last night was a shit game, but Man United went through in extra time, 1-0. You know, Arsenal made a whole decade out of winning 1-0. You know, they did. Arsenal won, but I'm just concerned that, you know, we're not getting we're not having those, you know, then the shots are, they're not, if you're not hitting them on target, we're not going to score goals. Yeah, that's one of those football cliches of course we're fucking not. It's obvious, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I'd much rather us have a decent conversion rate from not having many on target like we have done than see us only having 2 or 3 shots per game. It, you know, one thing that we have asked for improvement from, and so has Rodgers obviously as the manager, is we have more shots in the game. And again, let's face it, we still outscored and outshot and had more chances, I believe, from them stats you brought up than a Premiership side today. It wasn't like we played a Championship side.
Brighton was bad as well. And they're just so I know you love looking at them, so let's just bring them back up. Brighton,
so 3 more.
And it's 1. And again, this might be a little bit out of date because when I put this up, people are saying to me that it was actually 3. Not does that say 2 for us? I think I possibly didn't refresh the page before I cut it off. But yeah, Brighton apparently only had 1 shot on target, and that's bad for them. They didn't deserve to go through.
Yeah.
And you know, and according to the BT commentators, that's been Brighton's problem all season, is they've not been getting those shots. But you know, that's the thing. We did win 1-0, and I'm gonna ask you the golden question here. And I know it's really, really, really hard to do. Are we going to go all the way? Probably not, but you know.
If you got that performance, then no, they're going to do it. But you'd imagine, depending on what the scenario is with the run of fixtures and everything concerned with the club, i.e., injuries, returns, etc. Depending on how the draw goes, you know, this is the stage now where you want just a home draw. If you get Man City, fine, you get Man City, but have it at home preferably. Because it's just psychological now, because there's no crowd there. It's just psychological of knowing that you can't break out of you're away from home, so you deal with a team differently. If you're at home, you play your own natural game. And I just feel, even though you'd look over the season and go, yeah, Leicester have got more positive results away from home than they have at home, there's just a bit more creature comfort, isn't there, in a cup game, it seems, when you're at home. So.
On the other thing, of course, is what you can say is maybe our name's on the cup. To win a game like that, it feels, like I say, and I know I've you know gone on a little bit tonight, but it does feel scoring and winning the way we did. I mean, I'd actually got the graphic up ready to post that said, you know, full time 0-0, extra 30 minutes. You know, who wants an extra 30 minutes of this? So it was great to do it that way. Maybe we have got our name on the cup.
Well, I mean, I don't like to try and jinx these sort of things. I get a bit superstitious when it's a cup like this. So I don't want to preach too much. I was very last man fighting to give into the saying that we were going to win the league when we did it. So I'm always like that. But if you want to really delve into it and look at it as more of a dark situation, it does have that sort of run and reminder to it of when we got there to the Coca-Cola Cup final under O'Neill.
Yeah,
where we ground out some results. We had some results where we looked stylish doing it, granted, but we got there and we got to the final and we ended up doing that over a replay. Obviously, that won't be the case in this one, but
do you remember that it came up a couple of weeks ago? Do you remember the Fulham League Cup game?
Yes, well, we won that like
4 goals in injury time and then penalties, and they missed all their 3 penalties. And I remember saying that year.
I remember that one as well. Yeah, that was great.
Is our name on the on the cup? But
but it was on that way for it.
You
take
do. It,
And at the end of the day, we knew what we were setting up for today. We knew how we was going to go about it. We knew we wasn't going to, have a strong side out today because there's players out there like we've seen today with Campbell and again Thomas got more time. Under finally got some minutes. Well, he got a full run out today, didn't he? Amati was back at centre back. So again, that's players that, given the injury list, we seem to keep reoccurring into. And just as we get it down to about 1 or 2, there's 3 or 4 added on there. But again, it was all just nice to see. And again, by hook or by crook, last minute, first minute, the lads that came on gave a performance just about enough to win it. And you go away thinking, well, it wasn't pretty. It was pretty damn ugly, if you're being honest. But they didn't do too much wrong either, despite it being a scruff win.
What we're going to do, we're going to have a very quick break, then we're going to come back and we're going to have a look at man of the match and the ratings, and we'll pick out a few good and a few bad performances. So we'll be right back after this.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Please subscribe now on YouTube.
Hi, Alan Smith here. Be sure to watch and listen to Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV. You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels. Up the Foxes!
Thank you, Alan. And remember, guys, click that subscribe button on YouTube. Let's get those figures up. So, Alan Bennett, who does basically the man of the match for me straight after the game and rates the team and Roger's performance. I know a lot of people have gone for Daly Campbell, but he went for Iheanacho. I think that was possibly for the fact that, he scored the goal and he did take it well. Manager and team, 6 apiece. Thoughts on that, Brad?
I mean, Alan does this straight from the full-time whistle. I think for the importance and the fact that a lot of people were thinking if Nacho's to really get his name back in that mix and right up there, he needs a goal and he needs to get on the score sheet today, and he did that. And it's always nice when it's someone that you really want to do, who's not really getting the rub of the green, not really getting that minutes on there. And Nacho is a player that a lot of fans still have time for and are still wanting to see come good. And again, like I said at the start, I do hope this is obviously not a false dawn with him and this is the start of something that we're really going to see. For me, though, you have to go on performances. And throughout the 90, there wasn't many that were great. I think the team rating's 5.
I'll be honest with you, we can agree on that bit, Brad. We can agree on that bit.
However, if you look at the context of the whole thing and the occasion, it was a 5th round tie. He's only been training with the first team for a week or so, as far as I could be aware for. He comes in against a Premier League opposition, which is the same with us, granted, but still, it's a Premier League opposition. A chance to take your team into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and you've got a role to do out there on the pitch from our youth academy. I think, Daly Campbell had a fantastic game. He was probably the shining light in a 4, 5, and 6 performance team. Not by much, but I think given the occasion, the fact that it was his debut, it was a solid all-round performance. And I think I would give him the man of the match over Iniacho, but I totally understand why a lot of people would give Iniacho man of the match. I think the manager deserves a 7 because I think from what we saw, like I said, I think the way he chose to go with Vardy and bring Nacho on, where most probably thought the other way around would happen, to see the performance we've had from them and the sluggish behaviour, I think he deserves a bit more tactical credit to know it was wiser to give them more minutes and drag them off than only give them a burst. So I'd give him manager a 7.
With Daly Campbell, I get what you're coming from. No, I'm glad I didn't have to pick a man of the match there. And if anything, Brookline agrees and gone for Nacho. Facebook user there has gone for Marty. This is what I love about football, because somebody posted in the group, what the bloody hell is Marty doing on the pitch, sort of thing. I love the fact that people have these different opinions. It's what football's all about. For me, Daly Campbell, he was solid. He did nothing special. And had that not been his first game, then we wouldn't be probably praising him as much as we are. That said, for a first game, he's come on, and again, along with Luke Thomas, you got to say the future's looking good. Vardy for captain. What did you think of it with Vardy for captain?
I'm not sure. I'd have thought he'd have got it at some point beforehand because he can be quite boisterous. And when your captain's gone from Morgan, who again he's quite loud on the pitch when he used to be our first team captain and first team player, and then it got past Schmeichel, which we knew was fairly obvious. I don't think there was really. I don't think it really mattered to a point who was captain for most of that game because the performance just wasn't there. No. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a chance to give someone like that, a little chalk on their CV that they're also captain the side in their career there. But no, he didn't really do much as a captain. I didn't see any. I'm not saying he didn't pull people around. He might have done it, but the performance didn't tell that, and that's not really his job, is it? Really.
The problem as well is, we often think that we want a captain. And we've had this discussion before, do you want a captain like David Beckham that leads by example, or a captain like Roy Keane, Stuart Pearce that grabs you by the bollocks and makes you play well? Problem is, Roy Keane and Stuart Pearce probably wouldn't get away with being like they were these days.
No, definitely not. They wouldn't do. And we've had this debate before, and it's not a case of not seeing the advantages to having someone in the middle. I just, anybody that says that a goalkeeper shouldn't be a captain is talking out the backside, because one of the greatest captains one of the greatest goalkeepers in football was captain, and that was Iker Casillas, and generally Luigi Buffon were captains for their clubs respectively, and the national sides, I believe, at some point. Could be wrong with the national side with Spain. That got passed around a bit through some strong characters in there.
Was, I think, with Italy, and Shilton was with England for a while.
So to tell me that keepers can't be captains would be wrong, but I do understand why more people would probably feel more comfortable with someone like Tielemans and Maddison being captain. And I think that's why, instead of going to the status quo as having a centre-back as a captain or vice-captain, that they are the traditional vice-captain, because when Vardy came off, Tielemans did have that, and he does seem to be second to third choice for that captain's armband. Because I believe Evans is the vice captain, is he not, on a normal day to day?
I don't know. I mean, I would like. I have nothing against the goalkeeper. I know it being the captain, and Schmeichel gives it his all, and he barks out orders. We've heard him, haven't we? Some of his choice language, but for me, I just prefer one on the pitch. That if somebody's having, a bit of needs a word and is, at the far end of the pitch, Schmeichel can't do that. But I said no. You see, this guy here he talks some rubbish, Brad. No, Brad doesn't talk rubbish. What Brad talks is his opinion, and he is very right in that some of the great captains have been goalkeepers, but it's his opinion that he thinks goalkeepers can do that. He's an ex-goalkeeper, so we've got to kind of let him off. But I'm not right, and I'm not right about the shots on target and what have you. It's all about opinions, and that's what we are here. And Guy, you know, the Facebook user here, you're entitled to your opinion, but tell us what your opinion is. Don't just say, you know.
I'm all fine for you coming out and saying I talk some rubbish. Tell me which part you think I'm talking rubbish on, and we'll have a chat about it.
Yeah.
I'm fine for open for discussion about it, but don't just comment, Brad, you're talking rubbish. Yeah. We've talked about a lot tonight.
There was a bit of a joke earlier, and I didn't actually pick it up because we sort of went past it. But when we were having a talk about the argument, Brett put up there Team Chris or Team Brad.
Right, getting into the wrestling spirit of things.
The thing is, if we sat here as you and me, Brad, as we often do after every game, we sit here, we have a discussion, and we agree about everything, it would be a boring show. Brad, this was brilliant. Yeah, that was brilliant. Oh, this wasn't very good. No, that was. The fact that we have different opinions is what football is all about. There is no right opinion. There is no wrong opinion. It's an opinion. Like we've always said, they're like arseholes. We've all got one. And yeah, come on, say what point about Brad you disagreed with. But Brad, like I say, Brad does not talk rubbish. He's not right very often. I'll give you that. But
no, granted.
I jest. You know that.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's the thing is that, you know, it's like I said, I like to try and pull out points that I try and look at things in a different light, and that's why I'm just thinking, you know, I maybe saw something. Maybe I saw something more than I wanted to from someone like Iniacho today. Maybe I saw something that isn't actually there, but I just want it to be there. So I'm dead impressed with him getting 2-headed goals, and maybe I do read too much in for it. But not to blow my own trumpet, but like I'm sure most of you all do around here, because you wouldn't follow the sport if you didn't. I've got my footballing brain, and sometimes I like to try and open that up and see if there's something I'm seeing that most of you don't, and it's just what I'm doing. I'm not going to say I'm right, and oh yes, I will be right. That's exactly what it is. I don't even know myself. Like I said, it could be a false dawn, and I've read too much into 3 performances from him. But in regards to that, it's what I've saw. It's what I've got a feeling about. It's what my gut feeling tells me.
Exactly. And you listen to this, you listen to any other podcast, and we don't. I mean, I was watching an Arsenal TV one the other day when it showed when they conceded the 2 goals against Wolves. The guy was kicking the remote control around the floor, virtually shifting the furniture.
Yeah, but that's why we don't do watch-alongs, because this is all that, mate. I can calm myself down before we go live. If not, I'd have TVs, bloody cups, mugs throwing. I'd be off the air within 3 minutes.
This is very true. Although be careful, because you don't be careful what you wish for there, you know. But when you listen to any show like this, when you listen to any radio phone-in, when you listen to talk sport, when you listen to, you know, post-match, people give their opinions, and a lot of their opinions are said to create discussion. As an admin, you know, we're both admins of different groups, and we put things on there that will get people sorry, I'm just reading the comment there. Yeah, we'll get people to comment on it, because if I put everything in the Facebook group where everybody agrees with me, it would be a very quiet Facebook group, and it would be the same with yourself with your Premier League group. But as I say, everybody's allowed an opinion, and Brad is as valid as everybody else. The point, maybe this is the same guy. He's not sticking his name on. You know, you're coming up as Facebook users. We can't see you on here because you've not clicked onto StreamYard. So stick your name at the end of it so we can sort of get back to you. He says you can't get a goalkeeper shouting at the team when there's a full house. No one would hear him.
Okay. Then Peter Shilton, Petr Cech, Iker Casillas, Jean-Louis Buffon, Kasper Schmeichel, Edwin van der Sar, Peter Schmeichel, fun enough. I could name keepers that have got, and I'm not saying all of them are captain. It's just convenient how probably half of them made captain. I mean, I'm not saying they play for successful clubs like Manchester United in the 90s or, all these wonderful sides. I'm just naming top order keepers that have been successful, but you can hear them, and you hear them when that crowd's even in the ground. You hear them keepers, and you're telling me their voice isn't heard. Whether it's captaincy or not, goalkeepers see on a different eye level to players in front of them. Trust me, being a goalkeeper, you see that game, that pitch looks wider and wider, and you see things that sometimes you're not aware to when you're close quarters to the action. You're almost a touchline. It's how we hear Rodgers telling, I heard it today, he was going, Kel, get into space, get into space. And he moved, and as soon as he heard it from Rodgers, he moved into space. I've heard Casper be like that, and all of a sudden you see a player switch on and make that movement because they've heard Casper. So trust me, go and ask some ex-keepers that have been captains. Go and speak to them and tell them they're rubbish at being captains, because I think they'll answer back with the trophy camera, I'm afraid.
And I think, like you say, it's a very good point, is that another player is running around up in the window when the play's in midfield or whatever, and they can't see everything else because they're concentrating like the goalkeeper can. Like I say, for me, and I'm not saying a goalkeeper can't or shouldn't be a captain. It's just my personal choice. I prefer somebody on the pitch, as I say, because if something happens further up the field, they can go and grab them. But there have been some very, very good footballers, goalkeepers that have been captains, and that's a good. You stood up very well there for the goalkeepers union, Brad.
I did. I'm going to apply for membership next year for Golden State.
Give it to Yuri. It suited him. Yuri, I think, would be a bit like a David Beckham in leading by example. He's not a loud shouter, but like you say, what we said earlier, whether you get away with that or not. Point here, Brad. I think we've seen the final start for Oloyes ever. Although Brad will sympathise to his injury, he was smiling inside.
Well, I mean, I get that. Brookline sees comments quite a lot on the videos. So thanks for the comment, Brookline. I think it's great. And unfortunately, like I said, the injury does not mask the bad performance. And, I just think he is. I don't think I've said it for many weeks, and being injured will not change my tune on him. I sympathise with him. I'm gutted for him if he's out for a few weeks, because it means he can't keep himself fit and keep himself in Brendan's mind for selection. But I just think that it's the pony's run his trick, ran his race now. He's got to be done, and if Under gets changed into his position for the last 15 minutes, and that's when we see Under running at him and showing what he's capable of. I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying Under was a million times better than Perez, but I'm just saying you saw a bit more intent once he came off and he was switched into his role. If that's what we're saying is a much improved in performance, and it wasn't, like I said, blissful by Under by any means, then I just think that's it. I think Jose Perez, even if it's not through injury, is done as a Leicester player. But Brandon likes to prove me and others that don't like Perez or see the best in Perez wrong by keep picking him every week. But we'll see.
He's something in Perez, I think, that the rest of us don't.
And maybe it's some criminal information. I don't know. Maybe it's criminal information. I don't know.
we used to say that with Peter Taylor and Junior Lewis, didn't we? I think Junior Lewis was, we used to say, was Peter Taylor's love child. There's always something, and at the end of the day, he's the guy that's paid the millions to make the decisions, and his job will land. And
he's kind of got them sat third in the Premier League and into an FA Cup quarter final. You really can't, you really can't say much about him if he decides to play Perez and we still win, can you? Really?
Justin, I'm glad, because I didn't put this up because I didn't think that you wanted Casper to go and sit on a mop. That would have certainly have brought tears to the guy's eyes. And if it had gone to penalties, he probably couldn't have done much with a mop up his arse. But I think, I did know what you get, and you've corrected yourself there. He meant the cop. He meant the cop. But, and we're not keeping Under, favouring Thovin a lot more.
But see, that's the media trick, that I think, because he was linked to us heavily for the last, the rumours have steadily grown. And I'm not saying it's not a target of Brendan Rodgers. There's no smoke without fire.
No.
But it has been a rumour that instantaneously he's been around for a while. It's come up a cropper on the transfer rumours. And I think because we've questioned it as fans ourselves, and not just the media are now bringing it up, that Under hasn't got as much game time as we expected. Sometimes performances haven't been as high as we were hoping. Like today, for instance, like I said, until he changed position, he didn't do anything
It was a different formation that we went with today, wasn't it?
Yeah, but now I feel like maybe that again, Europa League's rolling around. He's just got 90 minutes under his belt today. That we're seeing what it's one of them, a persistent itch that's never going to go away till he either signs a new deal, signs with a club, or we actually do make the deal happen with Forthen. But he's always going to be in the mix of talk coming to Leicester until one of them two things happen. We've seen with Chowdhury, who's come from going out on deadline day near enough to get him minutes on the pitch. Nacho's come from, we thought we'd seen the last of him 4 or 5 weeks ago. Suddenly played 3 games, got 2 goals. Are we going to see that with Under? We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And apart from the couple of minute snippet videos, we certainly don't know the full ins and outs of the training. So this is where we give him Under the chance.
I think the problem with a lot of fans, and we're all like this, and I'd put myself in this position as well, is that a player can have 2 or 3 good games, but we're sat here talking about the game we've just watched, and it's that last game that we are judging them on. Under could have had 2 or 3 good games, but it was as bad, but it was no worse than any other player on that pitch tonight. The fact that you've just said there, Brad, and I agree, the fact that he's on the loan is what is saying, oh, he's not good enough, he's not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. And look, like I said, I'm a big admirer of him, and I know he does divide opinion down the line for it. But when we have talked about Under in any game that he's played in, we've always spoke about things that have excited us about him. He does have pace. He does like to run into that box and cut him, which we asked for from our attacking style players like Under, Maddison. James Justin does it, to a degree. It's good to see. And when he's in them positions, or he's being played in a position where he's able to do that more frequently, I think we've seen signs of him. Whatever the reason is, he's not getting as much as game time as fans would want him to get. It's neither here nor there. As long as he still gets them, he keeps putting the minutes in. I don't see why he wouldn't be a plausible option to bring in, even if we did bring in Thoros, because like it seems to be, Perez is the one that would be next. You're looking like losing in the summer because he's just not finding it. He's just not got going. Like someone says here, come on, Perez has had more bad games than good games. A prime example, would you say Under, in his limited granted time, has had more good signs than bad signs? I'd say, yeah, he has had more good things than bad things when he's been on the pitch. So right now, Perez should be one that we may be losing the summer. And then even if you bring Forthen in, you need that depth. So why not bring in Under as well? It becomes 2 options, and you're going to need it with all Brighton, as good as he is, not getting any younger. I'm just reading that myself, mate.
Any player is going to divide opinion, like I've said before. That is what it is all about. And every signing isn't going to be a success. And
yeah, they're not going to hit the ball running every time.
For all, if you have a look at Sir Alex Ferguson's signings, there's almost as many bad ones as there are good ones. That's Alex Ferguson, and that's the great Man United winning it so many times team. It happens. Now, unfortunately, unless anybody comes in with an offer for him, we paid 30 million. If Roger thinks he can offer something, we might as well play him.
Yeah, but it's that's not good enough reason to me. Because if that's the case, then why didn't we paid 30 odd million for Slimani? So do we just chuck him on for the sake of that, regardless of the fact that
he had a good debut for Leon as well.
yeah,
Scored one.
great. He did it in the farmers market. Fantastic, brilliant.
Great, and Slimani leave us, and they're suddenly having great games. It happens.
Of course it does, and it's great. And it's great that it does have it. And I was reading that then.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Nacho is a finisher, but doesn't have the pace and initiative. Is that initiative or incentive?
Initiative.
I did read it right. My eyes are going at my old age as well. I've joined you now. But yeah, again, he is a finisher. And like I said, maybe tonight we saw a performance that we've been seeing for, several weeks when Nacho's played. And we're actually playing a different route to Nacho to get the best out of him, which is you get the ball at your feet, Nacho. You let us catch up. You lay it off. You then run into the box. We'll try and find you one way or another. You just make sure you get in the end of it. And 2 goals, 3 games, 2 headers kind of backs that up.
Yes, yeah.
He is different to Vardy, and it's nice to see us playing a different route, not a direct swap. You know what I mean? We're not trying to use Nacho as a swap for Vardy. We're trying to make him into a striker that's good enough to replace Vardy.
Yes, yeah. And we've got to...
Steve Guppy. We'll get Steve Guppy in, and he can take corners.
Yeah, exactly.
I just read that quickly.
Yeah, we miss Steve Guppy. Get Guppy back. But I just think whoever's there, they're always going to be compared to Vardy, and it's a bit like comparing somebody who's coming into Kanté, comparing Barcelona get another midfielder is always going to be compared to Messi. Everywhere, people are comparing players to Ronaldo, and it's not exactly fair on them because Vardy is Vardy.
Yeah, of course he is, and that's what I mean. And this is why, like I said, I've looked at his last 3 performances, the man in question, and I'm just thinking, like I said, and I could be reading way too into this, and we could go back to the old Nacho that can't finish his dinner and falls over a lot. And I hope that doesn't happen, obviously, because I'm one of them that's a very big admirer and really wants to see him achieve things at this club. And that's why I think maybe if you look back and analyse the moments of his game, his more consistent role has been ball to feet, holds it up, lays it off. Yes, he might not get the goals and burst through a defence like Jamie Vardy is, but fans scream out for a plan B and for a striker that's going to end up replacing Vardy. Well, you have to play to his strengths. You're not going to get the best out of anybody. You're not going to get the best out of anybody if you do not play to the strengths. And yeah, we do need to bring someone else in to add to it. But if Nacho can just turn this in, can we get a secondary striker in? Because maybe we'll find out when Vardy does retire or becomes the impact sub next season, which he might well do with his age catching up to him, the injuries, etc., and the games we'll have next year, hopefully. Do you then get a second striker in, or maybe 2 strikers in, and you go to Nacho and go, right, that's your role as a striker. Here's our big 30, 40, 50 million pound striker we're bringing in to keep doing Vardy's job. But because he can't do it in such an aura of Vardy, he plays a little bit short burst runs, yet we can still find a way to get you both on the pitch and get the best out of both of you. Because I think Leicester fans have to prepare for the opportunity of 2 strikers up front next season.
Whoever put about Nacho saying you should not win a Leicester kit, they got shut up today. Underlinked with Vardy when he's played.
And Maddison, he got there was some nice telepathic passing. I've got to give Justin a point there. Yeah, it's a really good point.
Oh, that's the same point.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first signed, and I've said this many times, Inacho, I thought Inacho and Vardy together running at defence, we'd scare every defence shitless. But they go with this the one forward. But look, at the end of the day, it's been a very lively discussion tonight, which is what we love. We love it to be lively rather than us all just sitting. Yeah. Because it was one of those games. It was one of those games where we did sort of all.
We have to make our own entertainment. We had to make our own
entertainment. I was buying birthday and moving house cards. It was not the best, but thanks to this man, we're into the quarter-finals. We are one game away, and we can't go, but we are only one game away from a Wembley trip for the semi-final. Maybe this year we can be the bride, not the bridesmaid, Brad.
Maybe. Right, 5th time's a charm. Sod it. Let's go for it. 5th time's a charm. Let's get through the next 2 rounds and get our name on that cup. Let's add that to the collection.
If we did, he'd have to have a statue as well, I think,
Well, bloody hell, if Ranieri doesn't get one for it, God knows what.
I know,
exactly, Justin.
That's a discussion for another day, but Ranieri, Banks, we could go through them all that deserve a statue. We did still win, Justin. You are quite right. Thanks very much, Brad.
It's been a pleasure as always.
It's 2300 hours, 11 p.m. Thank God we've got an early kickoff on Sunday against Liverpool. I will see you back post game. Let's hope, good, bad, or ugly, we're talking about 3 points. Thanks so much, Brad. Take care, bud.
Yeah, take care, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, guys. It's been a long night tonight. We're playing at all weird times, as we know at the moment. Thanks so much for joining us in. Goodbye. Thank you. Good night, all. We will be back. When will we be back? Every night. We're back tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, with the Liverpool preview game with Craig. We are back on Thursday with Andrew Fairbass, big Liverpool fan, and also the brother of the Right Said Fred guys. He's going to be with us on the Friday. Saturday, night off. Sunday, it's the big one against Liverpool. 6 points clear or 3 points, they are back. Is it Saturday we play? I thought it was Sunday we played. But I tell you what, we'll ask Brad back in. Brad, do we play Saturday or Sunday?
Oh, I knew it's a 12:30 kickoff, isn't it? And I thought it was Saturday when you said it was Sunday. I do think it's that one. But it'd be interesting to check on BBC. I hadn't actually fully checked myself.
It's on BT Sport again.
It's 12:30 Saturday.
Saturday the 13th, indeed. We've had that many Sunday games. I'm just presuming it's Sunday. So Sunday's my day off. Yay! I can watch Antiques Roadshow. Yes, that's great. Brad, thanks very much, mate. Take care.
Yeah, no worries again. Take care.
Cheers. Saturday is, guys. So you've got me Thursday, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. It's the preview show. Friday, 7 o'clock. It is the opposition view show. Saturday with Josh, it's the preview, the pre-match show with Brad again. It will be the post-match show. Sure to be a lively one. It's Liverpool. We know it's not going to be a boring 0-0 there, are we? Good night, guys. Take care. Stay safe. We're through to the quarterfinals. Goodbye now.
Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.